hope you are well. Welcome to my video on women's mental health. Thank you for clicking on it. And I'm going to be talking about the difference of diagnosis between women and men. Although, according to my research, it is about equal on the diagnosis front, women seem to be diagnosed more with certain types of illnesses over men and vice versa. I want to just introduce my thoughts here on this topic before I go into the research, and also to just do a couple of disclaimers. Firstly, I'm all about equality. The Little Blue Pot channel is all about equality. I do not feel that anyone should feel superior or inferior to anyone else, and unfortunately there is still a lot of inequality, a lot of division, a lot of hate across the world. I am going to be talking about women and men, but I do understand that and I'm going to be talking about gender, but I'm talking about gender in the sense of our social and cultural differences, not sort of physical aspects of the body. But I'm not trying to discount anyone in the LGBTQIA community, apologies there, and I'm not also on a rampage that I don't like men or I hate men. So that's one disclaimer there. But I also want to say before I go into this that I do personally feel, as a feminist myself, that men are still dominating across the board, across the world. They are running most of the countries, they are making most of the decisions, they are spending most of the money, and the top 1% have majority of the world's wealth. Not just all men, and not just women. Women are included in those groups as well. But there's still pay gaps, there's still a huge inequality, there's still men are dominating most of the world. And I'm not saying this is creating hate, but I think this is leading to a lot of it. And because of this hate, there is inequality, there is division. And because of this inequality, women are more likely to be diagnosed with certain groups of illnesses over men, and men vice versa. So let's talk about women's mental health. And I hope that hasn't offended anyone or upset anyone. I'm trying to be as equal as possible, but some of the information and statistics that I've researched for this video have been quite shocking, and it does prove that there are a lot of women in this world and people in other sort of race, genders, ethnicity that are experiencing inequality, and this can lead to lots of problems, especially kind of developing mental and physical illnesses. But men are still getting diagnosed just as much. Right, now that's out of the way, let's talk about women's mental health. Mental health problems affect women and men equally, but some are more common among women. Various social factors put women at a greater risk, which I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about specific risk factors shortly. However, women's readiness to talk about their problems or having strong social networks can actually help protect them from mental health problems. However, not all women are ready to talk about their problems, and not all women have strong social networks. And it could be on the flip side as well. But I just want to stress that there are differences. We are all individuals. Every single one of us, how many billion we are on this planet, we are all individuals. So some of these may feel like sweeping statements, but this is based on a lot of research done by the World Health Organization, which is a fantastic organization. Gender and women's mental health. So only 2 in 5 people experiencing a mood disorder, anxiety, or substance abuse, which are the main kind of most common mental health problems, seek assistance at early onset. So that's 3 in 5 that are not. Overall rates of psychiatric disorders are almost identical for men and women, but there are striking gender differences which are found in the pattern of mental illness. So why gender? Well, gender is critical in determining mental health problems and mental illness. So gender determines the differential power and control men and women have over the following: their socio-economic determinants, their social position, their status, their treatment in society, and their susceptibility and exposure to specific mental health risks, which I'll be coming on to shortly. So an example of this is that gender differences occur particularly in the rates of common mental disorders, probably the most common that we would think of as when we think about mental health problems. So depression and anxiety. And these two disorders, these two main disorders in which women predominate, affect 1 in 3 people in the community. An example of this could be unipolar depression, which is like bipolar but without the mania, so you just have the depressive side of the illness. And this is predicted to be the second leading cause of global disability by 2020 and is twice as common in women. Depression is not only the most common for women, but it also may be more persistent in women. But according to the WHO here, more research is needed, and I would say definitely more research is needed, but not just with regards to gender, but also the other things I discussed, such as race, age, etc., because of that inequality. However, compared to women, the lifetime prevalence rate of alcohol dependence is twice as high in men. And men are also 3 times more likely to be diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder. And when I'm talking about antisocial personality disorder, I'm talking here about sociopathy or someone being referred to as a sociopath. They no longer use that term. Although it is used a lot in society, it is actually called antisocial personality disorder, or APD. So going on to those gender-specific risk factors. So depression and anxiety, their symptoms are significantly related to risk factors. So some of these could be gender-based roles, stressors, negative life experiences and events. But there are gender-specific risk factors for women and their likelihood to develop mental disorders, mental health problems, and these affect women more than men. So gender-based violence. So we're talking about violence against women, sexual abuse, sexual violence, socioeconomic disadvantages, so women being paid less, women having less of the more senior positions, and women not running as many business, finance, media businesses in all sectors. Also low income and income inequality, kind of briefly just touched on that. Low or subordinate social status, so women still are viewed, because of the patriarchal society we are in, that their status and rank is lower than men. As always, please share with me any thoughts you have on this topic. Plus, the final one here, the unremitting responsibility for the care of others. So women are still viewed as the person who stays at home, is the main caregiver of children, and they have to put their career on hold when they have a child. But all of these don't affect women as a whole, but these are some of the risk factors that can lead to women developing illnesses such as depression and anxiety. So going back to that sexual violence here, there is a high prevalence of sexual violence to which women are exposed to, and there's a high rate of PTSD. This makes women the largest single group of people affected by this disorder, affected by post-traumatic stress disorder. There are things we can't control, and there might be sudden changes in our culture, in our society, disruptive, severe changes to income, employment and social capital that cannot be controlled. However, this increases gender inequality and therefore increases the rate of mental disorders among men and women. So why do we think this is? Continuing on from the gender-specific risk factors, I'm going to talk about gender bias. And bias meaning the sort of inclination or prejudice against one person or another group. So we're focusing on that one particular group rather than thinking about everyone as a whole. So gender bias. Gender bias occurs in the treatment of psychological disorders. Some interesting stuff coming up here. Doctors are more likely to diagnose depression in women compared to men, even if they have the same scores on that sort of standardized measure. If you've ever been sort of see your mental health professional or general kind of practitioner or someone like that, you may have filled in one of those forms, sort of questionnaire about your sort of experience of depression and where you score. And apparently men and women are scoring the same, but women are more likely to be diagnosed. Why do we think this is? Also, female gender is a significant predictor of being prescribed mood-altering psychotropic drugs. So that means that not only are women being diagnosed more, they are also being prescribed medication. But women are more likely to seek help from their primary healthcare professionals, so maybe that is why the case is. But men are more likely to seek professional mental health care, and they are the main users of inpatient care. So why do we think this is? Again, I'm not trying to make sweeping statements here that all men are like that and all women are like that, because they're not like that, because we are all individual, okay? But because of that sort of statement I just said about men being the main users, why do we think that is? Maybe because they aren't going to their GP in the first instance. They aren't going to their primary healthcare professional in the first instant. So therefore they might be kind of leaving things too late, getting very, very poorly without knowing it, and then maybe causing a mental breakdown, or even having to be sectioned. What are your thoughts on that? As always, please share with me any thoughts you have. However, men are more likely than women to disclose their alcohol use to their GP or mental health care provider, Why do we think this is? Why are women not going for that support? Any thoughts you can have. So I've talked about gender-specific risk factors, I've talked about gender bias, now I'm going to be talking about gender stereotypes. And all of these are hopefully building you a picture of why women are more likely to be diagnosed with certain groups of mental illnesses over men, and vice versa. So when we think of stereotypes, perhaps we think of that old, this is my stereotype that I've just kind of plucked from my head, maybe we think of that old 1950s housewife that stays at home and takes care of the kids and always looks perfect and immaculate for her man while the man goes out to work and brings home the money. Now that may be true across a lot of areas in the world, a lot of places still, but it's mainly because people are still living by those stereotypes. They're saying women are more emotional, women should be in the home. Women belong in the home. Women are more likely to talk about their feelings. Women are more likely to, be better caregivers and mothers. That is not true. And because of these stereotypes, this actually perpetuates the stigma. This perpetuates the fact that the stereotypes are still existing. This means that people are more likely to go and get that support, that women are more likely to go and get that support because this stigma is being reinforced by these gender stereotypes. So there needs to be someone kind of saying, we need to challenge this, we need to challenge these stereotypes, because it is just perpetuating the same ideology in people. And not everyone on this planet is nice, and there are some people who do believe that women should be in the home and men should work and men shouldn't be in the home, men shouldn't be in the home, and etc, etc. But I don't agree with that at all. So let's try and start challenging these stereotypes. Stereotypes are a barrier to the accurate identification and treatment of psychological disorders. So risk factors, bias and stereotypes are, I would say, the main reasons, and according to the World Health Organization's research, are the main reasons why women are being diagnosed with certain groups over men and vice versa. I want to end here with some facts that really, really have shocked me to my core, and I'm hoping that this will further prove this theory that I am discussing today. So depressive disorders account for close to 41.9% among women and 29.3% among men. And leading mental health problems such as depression, anxiety, or any other problems with older adults, such as organic brain syndromes like dementia and Alzheimer's and things like that, the majority of those are experienced by women. And then 80% of the 50 million people affected by violent conflicts, civil wars, disasters, wars, any kind of anything like that, any sort of displacement, are women. 80% are women. The lifetime prevalence of violence against women ranges from 16 to 50%, and at least 1 in 5 women suffer rape or an attempted rape in their lifetime. So if you're experiencing all of these, the risk factors, the violence, the gender bias, the gender stereotypes, then it's not surprising that women are being diagnosed with depression and anxiety more than men. Depression, anxiety, psychological distress, sexual violence, domestic violence and escalating rates of substance abuse affect women more than men in different countries and across different settings. There are global pressures on women, such as multiple roles, gender discrimination, and associated factors of poverty, hunger, malnutrition, overwork, domestic violence and sexual abuse combine to account for women's poor mental health. I just want to say here as well that severe life events and our genetic makeup can cause depression, anxiety and mental illness, not just in women but across the board. If you have any kind of sense of loss, inferiority, humiliation or entrapment as a woman, you are likely to be diagnosed with depression or any of them, so depression or anxiety. I hope that has done this topic justice. It's been a really hard video to get to today. which is why there's a few cuts and edits in it. It's been something that I've been passionate about for years. I am a feminist, and I would say that more needs to be done to be talking about this. This is very, very important. Inequality, as you can see, can create severe problems both physically and mentally for women and for men, but in different groups. Please share with me any thoughts you have. If you've liked this video, then please like it. If you have disliked it or you completely disagree, then please go ahead and do that too. Obviously, I'd rather like some likes. But yeah, share with me any thoughts you have. Do you agree? Do you disagree? And if you want to have find out more information about this, check out the World Health Organization website and the Mental Health Foundation. And if you want to, just do your own research or watch some more videos on YouTube. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.